This episode begins with Whitney and her brother Duke Bergen trying to help Drew escape from prison. If you don't know why, check out for the part 1 in the link of the video description. During their escape, Duke Bergen catches them, but instead of antagonizing him, he gives Drew a sword, saying he hopes he finds what he's looking for far away from the lions. Drew tells Bergen that he never killed his mum. He's not the monster people think he is. And Duke Bergen replies that he believes him, but is sorry he can't do more to help him. Unfortunately, Prince Lucas and his lion troopers shows up and surrounds them. Whitney tells Drew to keep running as she brings out her sword to hold them off. During a battle, Lord Van Caskin slaps Hector for siding with a wolf. Hector Dad, who sees this, gets angry and tells Van Caskin that a blow against one boar lord is a strike against them all. Lord Van Caskin suddenly brings out his dagger and stabs Baron Huth as Hector watches his father fall in tears, just as Prince Lucas and his lion troopers gains the upper hand. Drew grabs his bride to be as hostage, threatening that he should let him go and he will release her. Prince Lucas suddenly transforms into a lion to attack him. Drew transforms into a wolf and kicks him away. Immediately, he enters an elevator that takes Hector and Prince Lucas's bride to be inside the ocean. They all got themselves in a boat with Hector barely managing to survive because he can't swim. Drew tells Hector and Gretchen that they aren't hostage to him. As soon as he gets somewhere safe, he will let them both go. Drew blames himself for what happened to Hector's dad. But Hector tells him not to blame himself. He knows it was Lord Van Caskin, the Rat Lord, who killed him. After a long journey, Hector warns Drew that he is entering inside the wormwood. They shouldn't go in there because it's full of blood-sucking bats and toads the size of dogs. But Drew smiles because it's the last place their enemies will think of looking for them. When they arrive at land, Drew tries to help an old man struggling to push his loads. But Hector stops him, reminding him that he's supposed to be keeping a low profile. They enter a stinking barn, where Drew suggests they should rest for the night. Drew suddenly hears a cry for help and immediately runs outside. He sees the old villager struggling to prevent his goods from falling into the river. Drew activated his wolf powers and helps the man. The man sees his eyes and says, "Praise be, for the wolf has returned." Drew goes back into the barn only to see Hector tied up in the ceiling. Yeah, this is Gretchen's second escape attempt. Just as she tries to escape with their boat, some strange creatures called the Wilderman shows up from nowhere and captures her. They take Gretchen to a shrine and said, "May Vala be praised." Drew sees a Wilderman weapon on their boat and figures it was them who captured Gretchen. The villager Drew rescued tells him that there is a Wilderman village on the edge of the cursed forest. It is the realm of Vala on their way to the village. Hector explains to Drew that Vala is a were-lord. She was an ancient were-serpent who became so consumed by her reptilian side that she embraced it entirely, taking the form of a great snake. The Wilderman consider her as their goddess. When they finally reach the village, they see the Wilderman performing a ritual and chanting Vala's name. One Wilderman spots them as they search for Gretchen and attacks them. Drew kills the Wilderman, and Hector decided to use this to his advantage to find Gretchen. He pours a yellow portion around the body of the Wilderman. He wants to perform a magic to bring the Wilderman back to life, but this time the Wilderman will be under his control and do whatever he says. When the Wilderman is brought from the dead, Hector asks what they have done to Gretchen. The Wilderman is forced to answer that Gretchen was taken to the sacrificial tree, where Vala will show up and feast on her. Immediately, Hector sends the Wilderman back to the dead, and they head straight to the sacrificial tree. They arrive to see Gretchen tied up to the tree. They get attacked by a gigantic spider, but all of a sudden, the spider runs away. It turns out to be Vala in their midst. She grabs Hector first, and then knocks Drew unconscious. Just as she's about to eat Drew, Gretchen uses her sword to attack the snake, forcing it to drop Drew. Vala tries to attack Gretchen, but Drew angrily transforms to a werewolf and charges towards the snake. Swiftly, he runs straight to the throat of the snake and kills it with his claws. Just after that, Drew falls unconscious. Hector realizes that Vala bit him, and he has been poisoned. They quickly place Drew inside the boat to take him to a village called Motley. It's the last stop before they reach the sea. Drew suffers from nightmares due to the poison, and when he wakes up, he realizes that they have taken him to Motley. He tells Hector and Gretchen that this is his hometown, the place where everyone hates him. But Hector protests that they have to stop here because they need supplies, rest, and shelter. He is sure his people will help him, but Drew replies that his people thinks he's a killer. Memories flashes Drew's mind of when his whole people chased him away, accusing him for killing his mother. Just as they enter the village, the whole place seems to be so quiet. Too many lion troopers are around the village, and Drew wanted posters as on every wall in the village. Drew meets one of his old friend called Hamwell locked in a cage. He sees Drew and started yelling for help, saying the wolf has returned. Drew requests that he wants to help, but Hamwell replies that how can he help them when he brought this misery upon their village? When the word spreaded about a wolf being in their town, the Lion's troopers came looking to make an example of them all. Many people were punished and executed for no reason, with villagers' homes burnt to ashes, and all that is because of Drew. Hamwell shouts for help again, and this time the Lion troopers wakes up from their sleep and begins to chase Drew and his friends. Drew leads them to his home, but is shocked to see the whole place destroyed. He sees a place behind the house where his mother was buried and begins to ask her to please show him a sign on what to look for and what to do next. But he only sees disturbing flashbacks on how his mother was killed by the were-rat. Hector and Gretchen gets attacked by a girl on a Lion trooper mask. Drew enters and the girl stops fighting them. Her name is Erin, and her and Drew used to be friends. Drew searches for something around the house. The night his mum was killed, she was going to give him something important. He suggests they divide themselves to find it and tells Erin to come with him. Erin tells Drew that she doesn't expect Drew to forgive her, but she knows he is not the monster people think he is. She tells him that the people of Motley needs him to stand up and fight back for them. But Drew replies that no one can fight the Lions because they are too strong. Erin tells Drew that if he won't join the fight, then she will, and dashes out of the house with her sword. Drew started to go out of control as the poison of the snake is starting to take effect. They finally found what Drew's mum was trying to give him inside a box. When they open it, they found 3 extremely valuable birth gifts. But Hector adds that they are not just gifts, but they are symbols of loyalty given to him by the warlords at birth as a pledge to protect him in life. The symbols are the oak tree from the Bear Lords, the antler from the Stag Lords, and a model of the Maelstrom Count Vega ship from the Shark Lord. They said that Count Vega turned piracy after Leopold banished him. Count Vega's ship, the Maelstrom, is the deadliest on the White Sea. Hector believes him to be Drew's mentor, the warlord his mother wanted him to find. Before they embark on this journey to find Count Vega, Drew decided to go find Aaron first, who has gone to confront the Lion troopers alone. We see Aaron trying to rescue Hamwell from the Lion trooper's cage. The Lion trooper sees and tries to kill her. Drew sees this, and the poison suddenly takes control of his body, with his eyes glowing purple. Aaron is really happy that Drew came back, and as Drew threatens the Lion's troopers to get away from her, the troopers fires an arrow at him, and as he dodged it, the arrow hits the chest of Aaron and she falls to her death. Drew gets so angry and transforms into a wolf and charges at the troopers. He is not himself anymore because of the poison, and this makes him to also attack his friends. Just as he tries to hurt Gretchen, Hector shows up and touches Drew's heart, reminding him that they are friends. Drew suddenly comes back to his senses and transforms back to his human form. Immediately, they go in search for Count Vega, a pirate who might be able to mentor Drew, and he is revealed to be a shark lord. They enter a tavern where pirates used to hang around and meet with the owner of the tavern to ask for Count Vega. The tavern owner instead mocks them, but Gretchen reveals she's Prince Lucas's bride-to-be and will have his head cut off. The tavern owner is forced to reveal that Count Vega normally comes to the tavern every night, but unknown to them, Count Vega is present at the bar. Vega meets Drew, but not as Vega, but just as a normal villager. He tells Drew that he can help them find Vega, but first he needs to know why they're looking for him and how much they are willing to pay. Gretchen suddenly throws a bag of coin to him. A huge man shows up from nowhere and reveals his identity to them as Vega as he grabs his neck, asking for the money he owes him. Vega pins the man to the ground, and as more people are set to chase him, Vega tells Drew and his friends to follow him as he escapes. He takes them inside his ship called the Maelstrom, but Gretchen decided to pathways with them and go back to Prince Lucas as his bride-to-be. Even though Prince Lucas is a rude and wicked person, she prefers to be with him than scraping the barrel with pirates and farm boys. On the other hand, Whitney and her father Duke Bergen is being called to the palace by King Leopold. King Leopold scolds Duke Bergen for letting Drew escape and to punish him. He tells Duke Bergen that his daughter Whitney will be his son's bridesmaid during his wedding with Gretchen, and after that, they will select a husband for her. Duke Bergen had no choice but to agree to this because he knows the consequences of challenging King Leopold. Meanwhile, at the ship, Count Vega reveals to know Drew's identity as the wolf and the rightful king of Westland. Drew is surprised how he knows, but Vega tells him his wanted posters are everywhere. Drew asks Vega if he can help him control his wolf powers. Vega explains to him that being a warlord is like being a ship at the sea. You can fight the winds and tides and end up crashing against the rocks, or you can learn to master the elements and use them to your advantage. To teach him how to control his powers, he gives Drew a sword to attack him. He defeats Drew and gives him clues on how to control his werewolf powers. Meanwhile, Hector doesn't trust Vega just as Drew does. He goes inside a quiet place in the ship to summon his dead father to ask for answers. but he keeps hearing a disturbing sound from the other room. He noticed the sound is coming from a box, and as he goes to check it, it turns out to be Gretchen, who is being kidnapped by Vega. Drew asks Vega why he would do that. Vega replies that he warned him not to trust anyone, so why would he trust him? Vega men surround Drew and his friends, and he reveals that he is taking them to Westland to hand them over to King Leopold. Drew grows angry and transforms into a wolf. Vega, seeing this, transforms into a Shark Lord, and they both engage in a fight. Drew lacks experience, unlike Vega, and this gives him the upper hand, although Drew is stronger. He defeats Drew by knocking him out to his human form. He then handcuffs Drew and his friends and sets sail to take them to King Leopold. When they arrived at Westlands, King Leopold shows up with his troopers at Vega's ship. Just as the king gives him the reward he promised, he firstly handed Gretchen to the prince and Hector to Lord Van Cascon, and he demands a more higher price for Drew. But King Leopold suddenly threatens Vega with his guards and tells Drew that at the morning of the wedding ceremony between Prince Lucas and Lady Gretchen, he will be executed. Just as King Leopold takes the captured Drew to his palace, they get into a roadblock. Some stag lord shows up to rescue Drew, and Whitney joins them against her father's disapproval. A stag lord called Meikle is able to separate Drew's carriage with the trooper's own, while Whitney is able to free him out of the carriage. But unfortunately, Prince Lucas and his guards captures her. Drew sees this and refuses to join Meikle's escape. He begs the prince to spare her life as he willingly surrenders himself. According to King Leopold's orders, Drew is locked up in prison to be executed in the morning, while Whitney is locked in the girls. At night, while the guards are sleeping, Duke Bergen shows up and tries to rescue Drew. But he refuses as he doesn't want anyone else to get hurt because of him. But he asks Duke Bergen for a favor. If he ever finds his stepdad, he should tell him that he never killed his mother Tilly. Inside the girls' quarters, Whitney surprisingly finds Queen Amelie, but it turns out that she has been cursed with a spell that has made her to be sleeping for years. Quickly, she calls Hector and tells him to use his magic to break the spell. If they can wake her, she can help them because she's Drew's mother and the queen. That means Tilly wasn't his real mother. Just as Duke Bergen discussed with the Stag Lord on how to challenge King Leopold, he sees Vega, the Shark Lord that sold Drew to King Leopold. He punches Vega, reminding him that they all promised to protect the wolf. They fought in their animal form until the Stag Lord shows up to separate them. On the other hand, two guards shows up at Drew prison. They are revealed to be Drew's stepdad and brother, disguised as lion troopers. They came to avenge the death of Tilly. Drew finally had the opportunity to explain to them that he wasn't the one that killed Tilly. The thing that attacked her was a rat lord, probably sent by King Leopold. But they still don't believe him, but not having the mind to kill him, they decided to leave him for the lion to execute him. Meanwhile, Hector steals a portion from Lord Van Casken's room and gives it to the queen to break her spell. In the morning, Lady Gretchen is dressed in her wedding attire and Drew is dragged out from prison as it's time for him to be executed. The executioner suggests to King Leopold to do the honors by executing Drew himself. Just as King Leopold tries to push Leopold inside a boiling silver, the executioner points his sword at King Leopold and reveals himself to be Drew's stepdad. He shouts, "Long live the wolf." Hearing this, the queen gains consciousness. She yells out that there is only one rightful ruler of Westland, and he is Drew, the heir of King Werger, her son, the wolf. Everyone begins to chant the word, "Long live the wolf," and Gretchen joins them. Prince Lucas tries to drag Gretchen away, but she protests she's not interested to be his queen anymore. Hector tries to stop him, but gets impaled with a dagger. King Leopold sends Lord Van Casken to kill the queen, but Drew shows up to protect her. Lord Van Casken transforms into the war rat, and Drew realizes he was the one that murdered Tilly. Duke Bergen and Stag Lord shape shifts into their beast form and engage in a fight with King Leopold. The queen, Drew's biological mother, apologizes for sending him away, because he wasn't safe here in the palace and believes he will be more safe with Tilly. Drew's stepdad shows up to defend Drew from the Rat Lord, but he gets killed. During the fight with the Bear Lord and the Stag Lord, King Leopold decided to retreat from the fight. He meets one of his trusted guards and gives him a ring to head straight to the desert to find someone. Drew gets chased by King Leopold guards. Vega helps him to escape, and upon his instructions, they both dive inside the ocean. And that was how this episode ended. Thank you for watching, guys. If you love animation movies, please subscribe to this channel and keep watching. Bye.